achievement is the best happiness you can get, Drew, you know, in whatever you do. It doesn't matter what you do in life. If you've achieved something, it makes you feel good, and there's a happiness that comes with it, a contentment that comes with it, you know. Yeah.
Okay. You know what I say when I sort of talk about you to other people? I say a bunch of things. But one cool one that...
That big bastard.
It's time to run the Barracuda! Yeah! Everybody do it now! Do what, baby? Come on and do the Barracuda!
G'day, viewers. Today's podcast is with an absolute champion. Oh, but first, it was brought to you by Coolangatta, the chill-out drink. Just sit back, relax, and let's talk about Speedway in the 60s. What a great show this one is today. It's with a champion called Jimmy Maxwell. Jimmy Maxwell, I first met at Archfield Speedway, and then I met him as I found out he has been operating Wintersun, and then which became, changed, whatever, Cooly Rocks On in Coolangatta the last few years, and I believe he's the head honcho there right now. But Jimmy's a great bloke. Everyone knows Jimmy, and just buckle in and listen to some great stories. Are you there, Jimmy? Yeah! How's that tea, Jimmy Maxwell?
Bloody beautiful, mate.
Isn't it good?
I like me black tea.
Yeah, why not milk?
When I was a kid...
In that mic, champion.
When I was a kid, my dad had a poultry farm, and he used to go cutting trees like timber for extra money to bring the logs up and sell them. And I'd go down with him down the gullies, and my job, only 8-year-old, was to build the fire and boil the billy. And we used to have a handful of bushels tea and bring the billy to a boil, right, make the fire, bring the billy to a boil, throw the bushels tea in, and then by that time, my dad and his brother had had one of the big trees down, and we'd get the real fine, brand new gum leaves off the top, the new shoots, and we'd put a heap of them in the tea with them and boil them.
Wow.
And that's how we had our tea, with no sugar, no milk, just straight out of the billy.
And what about the tea leaves? So the tea leaves
bushels tea.
Okay, so that came
from... You bought it in packs.
Yep.
There was bushels was about the only one. You could get others, but bushels was the most common. That was the brand name. And they were in paper packs, about that high.
Unreal.
And about 70 mil square.
Yep.
And that's how you got your tea. And you just got a handful of tea leaves out of the pack, threw them in.
Wow.
And boiled them, yeah.
Yeah.
And
let me guess, after your dad and they did all that work, there's nothing like picking up. It's like a reward, eh?
Oh.
Isn't it?
Oh, mate.
Well, here's to you, mate. Here's to you for being here. Is it making sense already why we're doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, well, they were my very young years, you know, from when I was only 2 to when I was about 9.
What year then, roughly?
Well, that'd be 1946
right
through to about 1955.
In what town did you say?
That was in a town called Glenhaven, out of Castle Hill in the west of Sydney.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I know Castle Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to live just south of there, sort of.
Did you?
But I used to work at the Castle Hill Sports. I think they had the
big sports.
Commonwealth Games there a long time ago. I remember that. It was a big sports place.
See, it was 1955 when we left there. Glenhaven was still a dirt road and all farming, small farms, you know, like orchard farms, poultry. My dad had a poultry farm and things like that.
You know what was I heard the other day? I just always have to keep an eye on this because I buggered it up the other day. We spent an hour talking and I didn't have the recording right. But hey, you know what I heard the other day? Because my home in Currumbin Valley was built in 1904.
Yeah.
And there was this actual article said In 100 years ago, or particularly this one said, in 1904 there was only 4 million people in Australia, or imports. There was only 4 million. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You imagine that? That's, Brisbane has got 5 and something now.
Well, you look at the way things evolve and that, like one of my aunties, this Cody Simpson.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
that's the singer guitarist.
Yeah, the Australian equivalent to Justin Bieber, and a lot better, I might add. Yeah. My auntie's sister is his grandmother.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I nearly saw him in Japan 6 months ago.
Okay.
I nearly did this show with his guitarist, Nick Mabry.
Yeah.
That's amazing, mate.
I said to Kirsty one time she was listening to him, I said, you were playing with him only about 5 years ago? Oh, don't be silly, Pop. I said, yeah, remember when we went out to look at the Christmas lights and I stopped and was talking to some people, Gail and Eric? I said, that was his grandparents, and you were over playing with him and his brother and sister.
Magic.
And I said, you were there with Aaron playing with him.
Unreal. You know what? He's big in America. He's big worldwide.
Yeah.
He played this big
well,
show
even
in
his
Japan.
sister's getting big now too.
Yeah.
She's,
okay.
I don't know her last name. I don't know what her name is.
Well, here's the thing about Cody Simpson. I didn't know anything about him, and once I saw him on the paper, as you do, here's some new kid star, had the look. But guess what he named? I loved him as soon as I found out what his record was. Surfer's Paradise. That's the name of his record. That was huge in America.
Yeah. Okay.
Surfer's Paradise.
Yeah.
How cool. I loved him. From that minute,
I'll introduce you to his grandmother.
Yeah.
Gail and Eric, the grandparents, are travelling in America in a motorhome. They follow him around. And I'm friends with Gail on the Facebook,
That's a big coincidence to me, because my best mate is Grant Fitzpatrick, and his very close mate in America, because they both live in LA. My mate Nick Mabry is the guitar player, and he's Cody Simpson's guitar player. So my best mate from Rochdale High School, who's a big star right now, he's in a band called The Cult in America. Yeah, big sort of deal.
I'll send a message to Gail and say, could she call you up and become friends with you?
I'd like that. Yeah. Again, more stories, hey?
Yeah. And Gail and Eric themselves, and there's another story sitting there that...
Yeah.
One time when my auntie and uncle, it was my mum's brother, married the Gail's sister, Joan, and so my auntie Joan and my uncle Stan were up visiting us when we were in Coolangatta, and they said, could Gail and Eric come down and we'll have dinner, dinner together. So we come down, we're all sitting upstairs in the house having dinner, and Eric, Gail's husband, is looking around. Yeah. I was raised in this house. Wow. So there it is, 30 years later, I've turned around and bought the same house that he was raised in.
Unreal. That's amazing.
Incredible, mate.
I had the same feeling the other day, doing some job in someone's house, and I went, oh my God, my first sleepwalking event was in the corner of this house. Yeah. I stayed some night there. And,
you used to sleepwalk, did you?
Well, no, only once or maybe twice, but that's what I mean. The first one was in front of a whole, my parents and their friends, and I was trying to get behind the TV. Oh. It was just real sort of embarrassing. I'll never forget it.
They had to put me in my own room and padlock me in and everything. I used to get up and throw my brothers out of bed, and I used to go out, let myself out and go walk, and they'd find me. Neighbours would find me down the street at 3 o'clock in the morning, not knowing where I was.
Do you still do it?
No. Grew out of it.
Okay. Oh, I've got a mate who does that a lot. Like he takes a leak in the cupboard and all this sort of stuff. Like, but he drinks a fair bit.
Oh yeah.
And so half of us think
a lot of it's alcohol, then, mate.
Yeah, because he's in a daze. What do you describe that as? Like, can you? Yeah, when sleepwalking, you can see, can't you?
It's overactive. No, you don't remember it. You don't even know.
But geez, you could get in trouble. Wow.
Yeah, like one night I went past my uncle's place, who was just down the road, and I was screaming out and running, and it woke my uncle up, and he come out, and I was headed down the gully. This is at Glenhaven.
Yeah.
And I was screaming out a bag was chasing me.
Right. Wow.
And that was what it was. And I woke up the next morning, didn't know anything about it. I woke up in my bed because they took me back, put me in bed.
Insane. And you're a big bloke. You
I
know what I
was
mean?
only a little fella.
Yeah, but
then.
still, you're strong.
I was still a big fella for my age. Yeah.
Wow.
But,
So,
yeah.
when did you come to the Gold Coast?
1967.
Wow.
I used to come up on holidays to Tweed Heads, and also Rainbow Bay. My grandfather was in the First World War. He got gassed in the trenches and that, so he wasn't a well man, and he used to have warmer climates. So me nana and pop, as I called them, used to come up to Tweed Heads for the winter period for about 3 months. And so we got very familiar with it, and I used to come up on school holidays and stay with them, and Mum and Dad would fly me up on the aeroplane then, the old Viscounts, and I'd have a couple of weeks with them and go home, and then when we had our annual leave, we'd all pack up with the tent and everything, and the whole family would come up. So we go right back to from when I was about 12 years old with an association with the Tweed. But and then I bought a block of land one time when I was up visiting me nana and pop, and I was only 17, and I saw a good value, and I bought the block of land. And when I got married, I said to the wife, "Well, we've got the land up there, and we both like the sun and the beaches. We lived for the beaches and the surfing as well as Speedway." And they were our two great loves. Yeah.
Brilliant. So in 1960s, you know what I like about the beach is I too, when my auntie would take us to Rainbow Bay.
Yeah.
I always get it confused with Rainbow Beach up in Fraser, but Rainbow Bay. And for some reason, she took us there all the time at Easter, me and my cousin Jason. And geez, I thank her all the time for it now.
Yeah. Did you ever get there when they were catching the mullet, the fishermen?
I don't know. But we hung around behind Tweed. Remember there was the dolphin park there, like the
Jack Evans porpoise pool.
Yeah, well that was dolphins were gone by that stage, but the pool was still there.
Oh, okay.
Right, well, so it was mid '80s, I think.
I've actually been there when it was all operational. I was coming up when the dolphins were in the Snapper Rocks baths, which are just a couple of lumps of concrete now.
Right.
On Snapper Rocks.
Oh yeah,
there was a whole series of pools there.
I didn't know what they were for.
And Jack Evans, who was a fisherman, caught a couple of dolphins in the net, and they were injured, so he brought them into the pools to get them well, and found how well they responded to human reaction. Yeah. So all of a sudden, he started interacting with them, and then part of the pools were then you had to pay to go into the pools anyway. And you'd go into the dolphin show.
Of course. And when you think about it, it would be the first time they sort of been able to capture and and actually interact, like you say.
Yeah. So that was actually on the Snapper Rocks. And I can't remember what year they got approval. They got the land from the government and built the actual porpoise pool that was right on the banks of the Tweed River.
Yep.
And moved it all over to there, and slowly the bars on the Snapper Rocks deteriorated, and then they just pulled them down.
Right.
And you can see some of the concrete structure still there.
Yeah. But that's what I was getting at. Nothing changes. The beach doesn't change. I was going to ask you, what was it like in 1967? And then I thought instantly, the beach has stayed exactly the same. Isn't that a good thing?
Well, it hasn't. In 1974, the huge cyclones and that, in front of Coolangatta Surf Club, which wasn't there at the time, but right there's a big rock wall goes right down, and the waves were crashing onto the rock wall. They'd washed all the beach away, and my brother and myself used to spearfish for blackfish along that rock wall in about 12 feet of water. That's where Coolangatta Beach is today.
Okay. So what are you saying? That, you know, the groin they built there?
Yeah, that's what stopped that, gathered the sand